Hello and welcome to the Free Cheese episode 475. I'm your Joe Diggs, joined by Mark Augustiniak.
What's up?
Matt Sellner.
Hello.
The Free Cheese is a weekly video game podcast about video games, brought to you once a week by thefreecheese.com. This week, for episode 475, Season 10 continues with 9 hours, 9 persons, 9 doors for the Nintendo DS. We've played it, we'll talk about it, and we'll rank it. Right after, I hear... Matt, when was the last time you were locked inside of somewhere and couldn't escape?
Bull. I don't know, but I remember the trap feeling as a young lad at the local carnival. There was a bounce house. I don't know if someone pulled the plug or what happened, but the thing deflated, and it some of it fell on top of me as I had my hand on the stoop to get out of the entrance, and then I got trapped, and I had to get a little bit of assistance out. Not a great feeling. I've never really I will go into a bounce house, but no, if anyone hangs around where I know the plug is, I do not like that at all.
Wow. How many kids did you step on to get out of there?
I don't know. But if you look up the
they're
date
no
of the
longer
incident,
with us, so it's too many to count.
if kids killed, it's probably me.
Man. Yeah, it's got to be a startling moment. It's always funny when you see that in a movie or a YouTube
absolutely,
video,
yeah.
But I'm sure being in it and being a child and not knowing what's going on. Because it's not the end of the world, right? But when you're a child, feels like, yeah. I hadn't considered that at all. Mark, how about you?
Yeah.
Last time. And we're not counting escape rooms, right?
I mean...
No, well, all right. Then 4 times.
Because those are planned, you know? You know what you're getting yourself into ahead of time.
You volunteer to be locked up.
You're paying for that, you know?
Yes.
Yeah, that's even worse.
It's different.
Jeez. For some reason, my memory goes back to when I worked at GameStop, but it wasn't really wasn't necessarily locked in, but the door to the back room was locked, and the keys were in the back room.
Oh.
So in order to get to there, I had to climb through the ceiling and go to the other side to unlock the door.
I love that. So I assume this is one of those kind of drop top ceilings where you can push up. You know
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So what did that look like coming down the other side? Because I assume you did a ladder to get up on the one. Did you just fall? What was the...
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't a far drop or whatever, you know, you just move the tile and then, you know, you try to dip your legs down as far as you can before letting go, and it's not that far of a drop.
Man.
Yeah.
Fun
just
times.
imagining Stranger Things season 4 when you're going through the inverted portal thing and they have to fall into the mattress. I'm just thinking that the entire time with Mark.
No, I'm pretty sure I either stood off the counter on something or I got boosted up or something like that. It might have been a mixture of things, but
So neither of you had to solve puzzles in order to escape these situations. I guess Mark, yours is a little puzzle asking. Matt, you had to,
Well, I murdered some kids, so
right. Yeah, you were. Maybe Matt created the game to begin with. The protagonist and subsequent characters of this week's game, 9 hours, 9 persons, 9 doors, or 999, as we will from here on out call it, did have to solve puzzles to escape the room. Developed by Chunsoft, published by Axis Games, at least here in North America, released initially for the Nintendo DS, but subsequently has been released for a number of platforms. Most recently, the Xbox One. And available on Game Pass, if you're curious about it and want to play it yourself. Back of the box quote, The water is rising. There are 9 doors, and time is running out. You have only 9 hours before Junpei and his 8 fellow abductees drown. Numerology, music composition, and logic puzzles are just a few of the 30-plus obstacles that stand in the way of their freedom. You'll have to use everything in your environment to get out. And you do precisely that. The 30-plus obstacles and the puzzle, it's a... I don't know. It's a bit of a misconception because the game has branching paths, right? So you probably don't see 30 of them in one playthrough. But through the branching paths, you do get to see a good bit of them. When this was originally released, it was a visual novel with the puzzles and the interactivity. Now in its current form, as part of is it the full title, the Nonary Games Collection?
Basically, just the Nonary games, or you can call it the Zero Escape series.
Right. That collection, which includes 999, Virtue's Last Reward, and Zero Time Dilemma.
Zero Time is for some reason separate.
Never mind. This includes 999 and Virtue's Last Reward.
It should be all 3.
Yeah. This has added voice acting to 999, so you actually get to hear characters. And it still kind of does what it can to replicate the DS feel by allowing you to swap between multiple screen styles, if you will. It's not fully DS. You want the real daddy experience. You want to roll back to DS on this one, but Mark, go ahead. Yeah,
I did the ad hoc DS move. After your suggestion, I went cloud gaming, Xbox, X Cloud, whatever it's called nowadays, through my iPad, and then used my Apple Pencil to tap around the screen.
Good point. I completely forgot about that element of this. Yeah.
Yeah, like the DS has one advantage to the other ports, and it's like, I don't know if we'll get there, but it's kind of spoilery, but there's an effect that helps with a twist that feels more impactful with a DS because it was intended for that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, but my first time was on PC, so like the remake or what have you. Like that's my first time, and I still found it pretty enjoyable. Still got a good experience out of it. But they did a good job kind of translating it, but yeah, I can see where the creator's intent was with that one. Still not bad.
Yeah, I had not played this one on DS. I've played prior to this Virtue's Last Reward. I played on Vita, and
Vita's Last Reward.
You're not kidding. And then I think that was it. I played through that one once. Maybe I might have tried to do like another partial playthrough, but none of the other ones.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, like you start to learn with this one that like once you go down one ending, you're not done. You basically have to go through not all of them, but a good chunk in order to get like the true ending or whatever.
Yeah, so this game, there's bad endings and good. I got a bad ending my first playthrough.
I did as well.
Which one did you get, Matt? What was the title of your ending? Do you remember?
Oh, I don't remember.
Or like the icon you got for it.
Was it knife?
I got knife.
That makes sense.
I think it was knife. Because you come down and see a body, and then after you see its said body, you get stabbed, right?
Yep.
Yeah, okay, that's the one I got. Sorry, I've since looked up all the other endings. I know there was like act ending and whatever. I was trying to differentiate mine from what I read, but I think mine was knife technically.
Yeah, that's the one I got.
Playthrough, my first ending was the submarine.
Oh, interesting.
So like
what
everyone
does that
died.
One play out as? I guess we're jumping right to the ending. So I mean, You probably should have known that.
Everyone
listening that spoilers, but
everyone bit it.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to. I mean, now at this point too, I've also like looked up the other endings because I wanted to have a good feel for it coming into this. Because I knew I wouldn't finish the other playthrough in time. But
it's weird.
I mean, that's how I remembered Virtue's Last Reward being too. Was just kind of like it. I don't know. I feel like I've got a pretty good pulse on. Like I feel bad, but like there was a show we were just watching, and I was just like, oh, well, this is the last episode. They gave you the twist at the beginning of the episode. That's not the twist. The twist is actually going to happen. And I called it, and I felt bad because you just... And then I think this game and VLR and any of the other ones, they've done a good job at... They're predictable, but they still surprise you. At least in my experience with it. Like, there's stuff that like you can totally see coming, that you know it's going to happen, that there's like whatever, but like even in this case, right, like all of the weird stuff that happens with Ace as the endings get fleshed out, like where he was part of the company that put this whole, like, I didn't see any of that coming. Not at all.
Yeah, like this game introduces a lot of themes as you're going down each path or whatever. You're learning something new, and these weird little educational moments start to all like kind of tie together, and it's kind of setting you up for what this game really is. So it does take kind of multiple, not really, you could probably maybe 2 playthroughs at most to kind of fully understand what's going on, but like you don't need to do the bad endings to get the true ending. There's one ending you do have to get in order to unlock the true ending. So it's like the one with the safe. If you do that first, then that unlocks you doing the true ending, because those two are tied together. Yeah, like it's weird. Like I feel weird about like spoiling, but like I kind of want to, but it's like I'm not sure if I should. But like what the whole gimmick of this game is, and like why it is how it is.
I think. Okay, there's 2 people that are listening to this podcast. There's people who... Maybe there's 3 people. People who played this game, and they're like, thank heck somebody is talking about this game that I love. I want to hear exactly what they're talking about. There's someone who's never heard of it, and maybe won't... I don't know. Maybe won't play it or will play it. And then there's... I'll put it this way. Maybe.
Why don't we just talk about some of the mechanics to start off, so that way someone who's in that second party can decide whether or not they want to play it, and then we'll talk about story towards the end before we rank it.
All right, I'm good with it. We already spoiled the endings a little bit, but
there's so many different things. It's like saying an ending to Heavy Rain, right? Like they're okay, sure.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
right. Yeah, we haven't
like
gone fully.
Yeah, there's like 1, 2, 3,
7, right?
It's at least 6. I thought it was 3 good and 3 bad.
And then
maybe
true.
it's 3 good, 3 bad, and 1 true.
They're kind of mostly all bad, and then the safe one is like partially good, and kind of leads you into the true ending. So I guess there's 2 good endings technically. The coffin ending is the same as the true ending, except it cuts you off and you can't progress any further. So they're virtually the same. Because if you get the coffin ending, it means you didn't do the safe. That's basically what that's. It's like, hey, you got to go back and do the safe. That's all it's telling you to do. But if you did the safe first, this sounds so confusing. If you do the safe ending first, you get locked out of doing the coffin ending because it doesn't matter, because you still get it in the true ending anyway. Right. It will still account for you getting it. So you're not completely missing out on it. It's just you don't have to worry about doing that part twice. It's weird. But yeah, the game is what? It's a visual novel mostly.
Yeah.
And then you get thrown into actual escape rooms.
Yeah, so you you are from the perspective of the game's protagonist, Junpei, and he wakes up unsure of what's happening. There's a strange device attached to his wrist with a number on it, and he's trapped in a room. You have to figure your way out of the room by kind of interacting with items laid about. And the first room that's where the red cards and blue cards are, and right, that kind of deal.
It's
You're kind of
flooding,
looking around.
yeah,
And it's flooding, right? Good point. Yeah. And yeah, then you eventually get out, and you're greeted by 8 other people, in what looks oddly like the Titanic, as made popular by Leonardo DiCaprio's face. And you soon find out that you're all there as part of a game conducted by one fellow named Zero. And Zero has kidnapped and gathered all these people here to escape this place, just play a game. There's a lot of math-based puzzles in the game, a lot of thinking critically and on the fly with certain things. I don't think too many games involved time limits, right?
I never ran into a time limit thing.
Yeah, like
the very first room, I thought, I was like, all right, I got like 15 minutes. But like as I struggled to figure out what the fuck the red and blue cards meant, I was like, all right, this is not, there's no change in visual in this room. Like, I'm fine, I can take my time.
Yeah, like the story has a time of its own, but like,
yes,
because you have to make it out within like 6 hours or whatever, but the rooms themselves are not timed.
So I think it's important to, before we talk about how we get to different endings because of the split rooms, can someone better talk about how you get into a room? I feel like I'm going to butcher how that happens.
Okay.
With the dead and the red, right? Right?
Yes,
yeah.
You, of the three of us, are legally the most qualified to talk about this, but there's...
That digital root thing, it was not clicking with me. I was struggling.
It made more sense on my second playthrough.
Okay, yeah. Digital route is something that you have to calculate. So there are numbered doors, and in order to pass through a door, the people wearing bracelets, because all 9 of you have a bracelet, in order to pass through a door, no less than 3 people can open a door, and no more than 5 can open a door. All people who scan their bracelets must pass through the door and check in on the other side. Otherwise, all bracelets involved with opening that door will start a countdown timer that blows up the wristwatch, little guy. In order to get through the door, your collective, as a group of 3 to 5, your collective digital root must equal the number on the door. Digital root is calculated by taking everyone's numbers, adding them together, and continuing to add any digits in a number until you're left with a single digit. So, for example, if you add up everybody's wrist numbers and you get 19, the digital root of 19, well, you take 19, and 19 becomes 1 plus 9, which is 10, and 1 plus 0 is 1. So your digital root of 19 is 1. If for some reason you had, if the total reached 32, your digital root would be 5, because 3 and 2 is 5, right? That's the deal there. Mm-hmm. So it never would reach that high in this game because the number combinations don't reach that high, between 1 and 9. But yeah, so there's, randomly numbered door. Well, they're not so random, but there's
9. And then it's said in that first little thing that's read that the 9th door is the escape door.
Correct.
Like, look for the 9 door. So it seems like at the start, it seems like you are trying to pursue the 9 door.
I gotta correct myself. I said 6 hours earlier. The characters are given 9 hours, like the damn title of the game.
I was going to correct you because it is the title of the game, but then I thought about it, and you're not too far off because they do waste like an hour at the beginning just kind of talking. So
Yeah.
it is kind of 6 hours, all things told. Honestly, that's kind of the part for me that this game both shines and fails is the talking. The visual novel aspect of this, it's like they do some things. So you are on a ship that you later learn is a replica or kind of like a model of
It's like a sister almost of the Titanic.
Of a sister ship to the Titanic. But it looks very much like the Titanic, and it is flooding. But as the characters, so there's this kind of like touchstone in our reality that you can like relate to, right? Like it makes sense because it's something that exists within our own space. But then they do all of this stuff where like they introduce myth and kind of like folklore and things like that to sort of just establish this veil of mystery or I don't know, confusion or intrigue. It's a weird thing, but like you learn a lot about like the history of the Titanic, but then someone else counters it with like, no, that was all a lie. And then like someone else counters that lie with another lie to the point where like you as the reader are kind of like, what's real, what's not real. There's a lot of those little things where like one of the characters will have a fun fact and someone else will counter that fun fact. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of that stuff where you're often left like, what was the truth? What was not real or what is real? I guess that happened kind of early on. And that stuff I felt like was super strong at least like world building and building this kind of like odd sense of being or whatever. But then the downside of it was like, and I texted Mark about this because I just felt the dialogue at times, it felt like all of the characters to me felt like they had been written by a single person. And they all felt like, you know, they felt unique against one another, right? Like all of the characters were different, but the things they were saying and the way they were reacting to things, it all felt like a single person had written them. And then I think I was critical of this at first when I texted Mark, so I'll kind of correct myself in hindsight here. But I was a little like, man, it's pretty, like, it just sounds young. Like, it sounds like stuff I would have said or whatever, like, to be whatever when I was in my late teens, early 20s. And it is that, but also Junpei's 20, right? Like, so it kind of works that he thinks and talks that way. But it was just like, I don't know. Dude's got sex on the brain a lot. Like, everything he talks about and thinks about falls back to sex in some way. Like, I wrote down a bunch of random ones, but like, the thing that I think, not even Junpei though, so two of the characters you play as Junpei, but you also have his acquaintance or friend from what seems like elementary school that he has not seen for a while. You both end up on this ship mysteriously. Her name is Akane, but for the majority of the game, we refer to her as June because every character takes a kind of code name. And there's a part where June says, "Hey, Jumpy, do you want to take a shower together?" She calls him Jumpy, not Junpei. That to me seemed like I don't know, someone in their late 20s, early 30s writing who they wish they were and who they wish were talking to them and who they wish were talking to them would have said to them back when they were 20. You know what I mean? Like, it did not feel like something a 20-year-old girl you haven't seen in 15 years would say to you.
Right. And like a lot of their exchanges were just like lines to tease them just to get a reaction. But it was just like overtly flirty and just the tension was just, I don't know, like it. If you watch a lot of anime, you kind of start to get desensitized to it. It's like, oh, this is just a thing that happens for some reason. But outside of that context, it's like, yeah, it can be a little much, and I feel like they just needed to fill the space sometimes when you're interacting with items in a room, trying to see if you can do something with it.
Yeah, which that, you know, it makes sense, like, in a way. And it does build some sort of character, so I'll give it that. But it just, it felt like I don't know. It's another one of those reminders I'm in my 30s now, I guess. I don't know. It's a weird,
Yeah.
it's a weird thing. But the thing with anime though is like you'll watch certain anime and like it's not that those things don't get a little weird or horny or whatever, but it's often like in the character's head. This was all spoken to one another, which seemed a little, I don't know. But again, that was where it was at its worst. At its best, it did a really great job of placing you in there and on the ship with them. And I think playing the puzzles too is really what immerses you to feel like you're a part of it with them.
It really felt like they wanted to do a lot of that in the beginning to kind of throw you off. I think they wanted to make it a little more lighthearted or a little more entertaining. So by the time that it does get to the more deeper, serious stuff, it's just like, oh, like it has like a bigger impact.
Yeah.
So a lot of it does feel like a front, but it's a weird way to go about it for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe I took a weird approach to this. I thought it was a potential trick. I was like, is it seduction? Because you can't trust anyone.
No.
I mean, these are 8 kind of strangers. Yeah, you're an acquaintance with June, but like, you know, you haven't seen her in years. Who knows what devious shit she could have been up to or whatever. I don't know. So I kind of went into this like, don't fucking trust anyone. It's kind of hard in a visual novel when you're stuck with a main character like this, where you're kind of still following his thoughts. But in my mind, I'm like, all right, well, this is a tricky son of a bitch. Be careful.
Hey, that is not a bad way to go about it. I mean, they kind of want you to do that too, right? Like,
yeah,
they were kind of setting that up.
So
yeah,
I mean, it was
I had that too
awkward
with
at
June.
times, but
like I fully thought she would be. I thought June was going to turn out to be Zero. Is where
I didn't know. I didn't know if it was that per se. I just thought like, you know, seduction in terms of like a murder. You know, like in terms of that, but yeah, it didn't bother me. I mean, it would be weird if I was playing it on a big screen and my parents walked into the room and that stuff was happening, sure, but my personal iPad with an AirPod in, it wasn't that big of a deal.
Yeah, it was something. I really liked it. Generally, I liked the game overall. I had fun doing it. I had fun solving the puzzles. Are there any puzzle types that you both learned through playing this that you are not good at?
I think when it came to doing like a hexadecimal thing.
Yeah, when you tell me that 6, 7, 8, and 9 are not 6, 7, 8, and 9, go fuck yourself.
It was just like, yeah, it was like you got to make every way on this 9 number grid all line up with each other and equal to all the same number.
Oh yeah.
I just wasn't there for it. I didn't
feel like putting the effort in because I didn't know exactly what I was asking because the other puzzle was similar, but you had to do the digital route by row. So I thought I was asking for something like that. I didn't know you had to go all the way across. And I guess when you look at that and you see all the arrows, it makes sense. But I was in a different mindset coming out of the puzzle before it.
Immediately before it on the same panel too.
Right?
Like
Yeah. So that was the only thing I looked up the entire time as far as puzzles. But a lot of it's just poking around the screen. You kind of accidentally fall into something at some point. A lot of it's just you just missed a little section of the room. Honestly.
I had that. I also had parts where like somebody was talking and I was like, next, let's go. I want a puzzle. And then I'm like, oh crap, he gave me like a key detail to solving this puzzle and I got to go back and try and read the log or whatever.
The coal room, the one where you had to get the engine started to get the gear pieces or whatever. Yeah. That was the one where I'm like, what? Like I know kind of what to do, but like I'm missing the key. Like I feel like I figured out the entire puzzle before I got even started because I didn't know where to start. Mm-hmm. And I finally tapped like on the right area. I was like, oh, finally, like it was right in front of me the entire time.
It was like in order to get like behind the machine to put the coal in, which is on your right, you have to hit the left arrow in order to look behind. It was it was a little out of place.
I'm an excuse some of that stuff. I mean,
you could just tell they were just trying to add some padding to some of these levels. They try to prolong it by making you venture out further to get said thing and then come back and put it in other thing. At least towards the end, it was starting to feel more like that. But yeah, the cargo room, I think, had the most like time sinking puzzles because it was just mostly math based.
Yeah,
but I think that was my biggest hurdle. A lot of it was just kind of clicking around and with certain items, hoping for the best and just making it out that way.
So I don't think we mentioned this yet. I think it's important too. We talked about like the split paths and stuff, and how that happens is because of these numbers on the door and the groups you have to get into for the digital route.
Yeah.
So I can't think of the numbers that would make it up, but say you have like a 5 and a 6 door. You obviously certain character combinations can't go in door 5. They can only go through door 6. And at various parts in the game, you kind of get asked, hey, which of these doors do you want to go in? And then it kind of lets you know what your party would be going into that door. So that's how you kind of split paths, and that's how you navigate your way to the different endings or whatever. From what I could tell, your first time through without like looking at a guide or anything, it's kind of random how you would get to the endings. Like, I don't think there was a difference in me going through one door or the other that led me to the ending I got as opposed to a good ending. I think it was just luck of the draw at that time. I guess, like, the character combinations and learning something about someone or something like that could help along the way, but
yeah,
seemingly the first time through, I was just like, oh, well, I'm just going to go through this door because it makes sense for the party or what. I don't know.
Yeah, like, you'll learn that there are key moments in a puzzle room where like a conversation will pop up and it feels significant, and then you'll know you're on the right path if that starts to carry over into the other rooms. Like,
yeah,
especially if it's your second time or third time in that room, and then all of a sudden a new piece of dialogue pops up where it's like, all right, it's learning time. And that's how you know that, like, all right, like, you're learning all these random theories for a reason.
Right.
And, like, so yeah, like, that all, it all starts to come together.
So, I mean, I thought this game, I highly enjoyed this game. When I think of a visual novel, this is it. Like, murder mystery, like, solve the crime. I can't do other visual, like, this is it. I really don't do a lot of visual novels, but this is it. Like, this, Danganronpa, you have to play those sequels, but I will get to them at some point. Like, these are my favorite, and I think this one is effective as like one that kind of held my interest all throughout. My ending came abruptly, but I think that's just part of the bad ending experience.
Yeah.
But no, like, sure. There's those dialogue things that drag out, but I think it just comes with the territory, and I'm willing to like dismiss it. I don't think anyone is going to wake up and not be in the mood for a visual novel and know when reading's coming and play a visual novel. I just don't think that world exists out there.
Yeah.
So, like, I think you kind of know what you're getting yourself into. So, like, the beginning does drag on, but then the 9th person incident happens where he tries to take someone hostage, and you get, like, the real, like, that is the example that puts... You get, or no, that happens and then the rules get explained, right? I can't remember the order now.
No, the rules get explained first, and then
okay, great. So like that leads to my point then. Like, you just get everything thrown at you at one time with the rules, and you're like, all right, you just threw a lot of dialogue at me, and then something happens to set an example for what happens when you don't follow the rules, which I thought was super effective and just summed up everything perfectly. Was it worth like the 15-20 minutes to scroll through that text? Maybe not, but I think that was just effective storytelling at the end of the day. Try to get all the characters to chime in, get their first introductions before diving deeper into them in the different rooms. Then you get the rules because obviously something's happening. You need to know something, you kind of get your grasp of what could potentially be happening. And then you get an example of what happens when you don't follow the rules. And then that realization sets in that, like, lives are at stake here.
Yeah, because I think, like, even starting out, being in a room that's actively filling with water and not knowing how you got there or what's happening, like, and then having the rules explained that, like, you need to get out, you're going to die, blah, blah, blah. The reality doesn't really set in exactly until you said, like, that dude dies. And it is very apparent that he dies right at the beginning. So that, yeah.
Also, shout out door opening animation screen.
Yeah.
Resident Evil style. Like, nothing else is animated besides that. Great. Yep. Love it. And then, the attention to detail in that first door with the ninth man's blood all over.
Yeah, very good. I took a couple notes while I was playing. There was one line, I gotta wonder, like, I mean, this had to have just been the American version, but the, well, excuse me, princess, straight up was pulled from the old Zelda Philips CDI games.
It definitely took a screenshot when that happened.
Yeah, I like grabbed my phone because most of the games when we're doing things, I try to take notes as we're going or whatever, and that was one where I was like, yep, jot that down. And then, of course, as the free cheese is concerned, I did not appreciate Lotus trying to convince you to eat soup pretty early on in the game. There's a whole soup war conversation happening in there that I found quite offensive and, almost turned off the game. But I did note, I tried to mentally trace back because, like Matt pointed out, there's been a number of visual novels of this ilk that have done similar things. Danganronpa's one. There's been a ton of escape room style games. There's been real escape rooms then born out of these video games. But I tried to figure out, like, I think 999 was one of the earliest examples of a popular video game doing this and doing it well. However, tracing it back, I was like, okay, so what started this? Was it Saw, the movie? Is that where we kind of got going with this? So I looked up the origins of Saw to see, like, how did James Wan and the writing partner, whose name I don't remember, come up with the idea for Saw? Was it because they really dug playing weird adventure games and stuff like that? And no, it's because they had a really low budget and they realized that to do well with a low budget, you should try and shoot in one location. And that kind of led to them being in a single room and, that kind of stuff.
Reservoir Dogs.
Yeah, right. All of that fun stuff. And so it wasn't Saw. So then I'm like, all right, where did it go? It really, the kind of escape room solving puzzles to get out of a spot seems to have really been first introduced in a 1988 text adventure by John Wilson called Behind Closed Doors. You're trapped inside of a bathroom. And then 1993's Myst, one Ben Barris approved Myst, that is.
Yeah.
Had popularized the genre of games kind of leading into the early 2000s. And then I think really, though, like, my memory of this stuff is 999 kicking it off into this last decade. And I think it has then just continued to be. And again, to real world stuff with which you both seem to indicate at the beginning, you've done real world escape rooms. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. I love them.
Yes, yes.
What's the coolest theme that you've done one for?
I don't know if it exists anymore, but it was in Philadelphia. There was a Escape the 80s, and it was when you go into those puzzle buildings, it's usually a couple of different rooms of different themes. Mm-hmm. It was, the whole building was dedicated to this one puzzle, and there was multiple rooms, and you had to put the first room was like a giant, like what would be like your Hollywood video setup with different VHS tapes, and you had to find clues, and the clues would tell you which VHS tape to put in, and then you would get a clue from that, and you would unlock another room. At one point, I had to play Brick Breaker on an Atari to get a clue.
That's good. Oh, nice.
It was it was well done. Yeah, and we got out of it with a few minutes to spare. So
nice.
Mark, what about you? I think the last two I've done were probably pretty interesting. Like, I try to find more towards like the creepy side. And I haven't been to like a straight up like horror themed one yet, but I've done one where it was basically like Saw, where you are in the killer's basement and you start off blindfolded and handcuffed to a bed frame. And it's just like it was me and like 6 other people, and one of our friends was quite big and tall, so they probably wanted us to just like kind of like stretch from the bed frame to find a key, but instead we all lifted it up together and moved around the room, or like like he was able to pick it up basically. We did it that way. We technically solved that one, but we got to the door 1 second late.
No.
Like we had just opened the door and it was already like past 0. I was like, "You come on,
You won.
Yeah.
So
Counts.
right." And the most recent one I did was for my birthday. I think was it last year?
I think
Maybe
it
2
was
years
last
ago.
year.
I can't. Yeah. That one was like you were in like this mansion, and you had to try to find your way out, and that involved like messing with bookshelves, paintings. You had to play some. Yeah, like you had to play some notes on a piano.
Oh, so Resident Evil.
Right. So like that was pretty cool. Like the room felt small, but it started to open up and become bigger. So like that was pretty neat. And next year I plan to do a Scooby-Doo themed one,
Ruh-roh.
like officially licensed.
Where's that at?
So it's from the same place where I just did that mansion one. They're called Escapeology, and the closest one to do the Scooby-Doo one is apparently in Jersey to us. Like that's the closest one.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, that might be worth it.
I've not done one, but what I can recommend is one of the first episodes from the most recent season of Mike Judge's Beavis and Butthead, where Beavis and Butthead are standing on the street outside of an escape room place. 2 girls have friends that bail, and they need people. They can't go in without 4 people total, so they pull Beavis and Butthead in. Before Beavis and Butthead go into the room, they request to use the bathroom, and once in the bathroom, think that is the escape room, and they proceed to try and solve the puzzle of escaping the bathroom that is not locked, but somehow they can't get out.
That's pretty good.
It's pretty good. It's got a good little it's got a good punchline at the end too, I'll say that. So check that one out. But that too, I think escape rooms became such a popular thing outside of video games and in the real world that most shows that I have watched in the last whatever, like long running comedy or not, like I feel like escape rooms have been a talking point in most mainstream media.
Yeah. I missed my chance on it, but in Vegas they have official escape rooms based on Saw and the Blair Witch.
Oh wow, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And we've seen other things too. I mean, Squid Game was the most popular show on Netflix. Was that last year?
Yes.
Yeesh.
Yeah. Has to
and
be.
Squid Game was all about solving puzzles to stay alive. I watched. Did either of you watch one called Alice in Borderland?
I've heard the name. I haven't checked it out.
It was good. If you liked Squid Game, I would say check out Alice in Borderland. It was a Japanese show where 3 friends. The details are a little murky. They go. I think they skip school and then they get like a weird invitation to something. They hide in a bathroom and then like they're teleported into a world where everyone's gone except for them, and they have to try and figure out what the heck's going on.
No,
and it's another one of those things, just like 999, where like it starts off where what is this? Is this real? This must be a joke. And then, oh wait, that woman's dead now. Oh, this is we have to. But that one was really good. And I think the thing that both Squid Game and Alice in Borderland and a lot of these movies and shows and things do really well is they not only cement you in the world and you try and solve the puzzles with the characters, or in the case of a game, you're trying to solve them yourself because you're trying to move the story along, but they build an emotional connection between the characters and in some cases you with those characters. And I think 999 did that to an extent. I think it. I don't know that 999 ever reached the full depth that some other properties have, but I don't know. I felt an attachment to these characters that when you'd start to find some of them turning up dead, you were like, oh, not you.
Yeah, so I had put this game on the list for us to play because not only is it one of my favorites, like favorite series of games or whatever, but it's probably not my favorite out of the trilogy, but I think it is necessary to start. I mean, they're all good. I don't hate it by any means, but to get to the bread and butter of this game, it does ask a lot of investment and time and patience to get to, once things start to unfold. It does take a bit, but that is the foundation for the rest of the series, and they only go even crazier than this game. So it's like you kind of need the context from this one to better understand the other two. And but I do like the presentation of this one a lot. I do like the animated characters, like upgrading from sprites on the DS to full animation, fully voiced, higher res stuff. So that was just another thing to add to it.
Does that mean we've got more to look forward to in season 11?
Well,
I don't know.
We might have two seasons of games lined up, but we continue.
No, I mean, I don't know. The third game is technically the shortest, but the second game is long, and I couldn't. Yeah. I don't know if I could do that. I mean, you'd have to. I'd rather you volunteer and do that on your own versus me making you do that.
I did. Like, I remember playing it and having a great time with it. I remember, weirdly enough, I remember being in this sub shop with one friend, eating subs, and having a Twitter conversation with another friend about Virtue's Last Reward. Vivid, like when I think of Virtue's Last Reward, I think about ordering a cheesesteak at this all-night cheesesteak place and going back and forth on Twitter talking about that game and how good it is. And but if you were to go back into that now, you're gonna see some characters and think very differently about it. Yeah, I bet. Yeah, I know there's some crossover, some direct, right.
It's just, it's a lot of nods, a lot of context needed.
Well, that seems to be a key element, though, in a lot of these shows and stories and things, is that there's always a character who this is not their first time through this game. There's always someone who knows a bit more than they are letting on, that kind of stuff. And yeah.
Did anyone have a favorite character or a favorite, like, theory or educational moment?
I liked Lotus.
Yeah, she was cool.
I trusted no one, so Junpei, I guess.
I didn't trust Junpei. That's where I went with it.
I like I grew to like 7.
Yeah.
The ninth man had a good run. That's my favorite.
Oh, yeah, that's the guy.
Yeah, that's my dude.
I like 7 too, but the thing with 7 and characters like 7 is that they're always written to they fit a specific role. Like they're,
I mean, yeah, he comes off very
aloof.
Right? But he's actually not. Like,
no, he's very, yeah. That's fair.
You start to learn that everyone's kind of smart.
Yeah. He's the one that explains, like, the molecular part of, like, Ice 9 or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did we want to get into any potential? I mean, I only read the ending, so I don't have much to contribute there for.
I don't know that we need to go too deep into it. Like, maybe that is best left to discover.
Yeah, it's a twist that might seem predictable, but yeah, like it there's layers, and I think that's my favorite thing about this, because like that's the part that I wanted everyone to experience, but I didn't realize how I did realize, but I didn't fully realize how weird and obtuse it was going to be to reach said thing.
I know what you mean.
Yeah.
It's tough, especially in a format like this. It's like if we'd asked to get the true ending or ending E in Nier Automata.
Like, conveniently though, they do make it pretty easy for like, if anyone was like going to play through this and they want to either see all the endings or specific endings, they did make this as painless as possible when it comes to replay value. Yeah. I thought they didn't for a minute, because just me understanding menus was just a little tough at first. But like dialogue skipping, instead of mashing a button or mashing my head into the controller the entire time, I didn't realize that you could switch it to auto and it just fast forwards the whole damn thing until it comes to make it a dialogue choice. There are you will see little icons pop up on like I don't know what that page is called, to see the different timelines or whatever.
Yeah, that like
the different paths or whatever. You will see little key icons. They either have a line through them or not. And those are just pivotal moments that you needed to unlock in order to get the better ending. So it will show you where they're at. They're typically in puzzle rooms, and you don't have to complete the whole puzzle to do it. As long as the second you get that dialogue thing and it's unlocked, you can just pop right out, jump right into the next thing further down, and it'll save you so much time.
Oh, I didn't realize it was that kind of jump. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, like you can just
that's on demand. Why it's called Jumpy.
You're onto something.
Yeah, because it was even like just I knew I wouldn't finish it, but I did start another one, and like getting just the little bits, it was like, this is moving faster than I thought it would. But I didn't realize how easy. Yeah, it's good.
I thought you had to like walk through the whole path.
Yep.
Not miss a single thing.
Yeah.
Do the whole puzzle again. Nope. Just certain parts.
That's good.
Yeah,
so at the end of every episode this season, we have been ranking the game that we played against a big list of games that we call the list. If you want to follow along with what we've ranked so far, as we rapidly approach the end of the season, I should add, thefreecheese.com/thelist has what you need. Now, unfortunately for us, I don't think this game is going to make my life easy come Monday. Or, the listeners are hearing this as it's already happened. But what was great about Blinks the Time Sweeper last week is that I didn't have to fight with our back-end editor for the website to format the table. Because every time we have to sandwich something in the middle, updating the format of the table is such a pain. Blinks made it easy last week. However, I don't think 999 is going to make it too easy on the old formatting. Which I guess is fortunate for it.
So we're not putting it in last? No, I'm kidding. It's tough. I think
I don't know
this...
where to put this. This is one of the few times this year I've looked, and I don't know where to put it.
It's also the first visual novel on here.
It is that. Is it also the first DS game on the list?
Yes. Because I haven't had to worry about a DS potentially the entire year.
Huh. Yeah, look at that. Well, damn.
Yeah. What's your heart say, Matt?
The new 15.
Bumping SSX down? Okay. Mark, where are you landing?
I was kind of higher than that, but I can understand that.
Where were you at initially?
Top 10.
Yeah, for me, I initially was...
Or, like... Maybe above Beautiful Joe, which is 11th.
I was, and then I was toggling between knocking Tokyo Jungle down or keeping, like I was back and forth on that. I felt like Burnout 3 still stays. It shouldn't go higher than Burnout, but it's tricky between Tokyo Jungle and Beautiful Joe. But then the weird thing is, once Matt introduces dropping this below Double Dash, I look at Get to Roo Man, and I feel like I do like Get to Roo over 999. So maybe this does make more sense as the new 15.
I can't forgive Get to Roo's pause button. I can't get over that.
Oh, yeah, good point.
That is a bummer. But I love that game. I love that game so much, though.
Ooh.
Oh, you know what? Fucking, this isn't the first visual novel of the list. This is the second. Metal Gear Solid 2 is on here, guys.
Oh, right.
Yeah. I guess as high as I'll go, I guess it'd be cute if it was 9th place, but
I can't do that. No.
No. I wouldn't do that. I just because of the number 9.
It'd be stupid. It'd be stupid as fuck.
It would be really stupid.
I mean, I'm down to be dumb
but I do like it more than Tokyo Jungle, I will say.
I'm
They
good with
each
that.
had their faults at this, at that level.
Yeah. But I'm good with this as the new 10. I'm also the only reason I wouldn't push to make this 9 is because I can't say with certainty that we don't have something coming up that will there's a couple games we still have that might be top 10 and might end up bumping this
few.
out.
I mean, I don't want to preface this too much, but there might be a few games that eclipse the top 10.
Yeah.
Looking at you, episode 479.
Oh, I have the spreadsheet right here.
Just cue Matt rolling his eyes. There it is. There's that look. Oh, listeners, stay tuned. Stay tuned. We'll see you on November 14th for that one.
I think, really, my only gripe with this game, I think some of it's held by it being a visual novel, which I have to get past that. I feel like my only things I hate. I mean, this is a personal thing. I mean, this is someone that loves Heavy Rain too. I hate replaying games for different endings.
Yeah.
I
think this handles it better because you don't have to sit through the whole thing.
Right? I know.
Skip a chunk.
If
that's
you're
just a
gonna
me
do it,
thing.
this one does it well, and I thought about that when I was writing my review for this one, Matt. Like, the replayability used to be something in video game magazines that was like a weighted score. Like, it was, can you replay this game? And I think about that now, and like the way games are, and the way time is, and the way that things compete for our time, replayability is not what I look for in games anymore. Unless that game is specifically something where it's like a competitive whatever. But a story-based game, I really don't chase replayability. Unless some years have passed. For example, currently, replaying through Arkham City. I'm getting stoked about Gotham Knights. Sorry, I forgot the name of that one. Coming out this week. And earlier this year, I played through Arkham Origins again on the 360.
As it allowed.
Huh?
Well, as it allowed on 360, right? Didn't you fight
I did beat
crashes?
it. I finally beat it.
Oh,
like,
okay, all right.
Despite all of the stupid
But you
crashes
fought
happening
crashes.
on Series
Okay.
X. Gosh, what a nightmare. Fix that. Like, it'd be sick if someone out there could just fix that. It's anyway, all right. Yeah, I beat that, and then that was a couple months ago I beat it. And then I'm like, I kind of want to play Arkham City again. As I'm playing through Arkham City, there's a ton where I'm like, I remember this. Skip. But there's a ton that's just like fun to do. And I'm also better at playing those games now with that combat and that rhythm to it and everything, that it's good to replay. But it's been 11 years since I played Arkham City. Something like this, I think contextually it makes a lot more sense on the DS when it came out, right? Think about the landscape.
Right, yeah.
We had much fewer things to worry about. I'm with you. It does.
That is the one thing I got to bring up. The DS version doesn't have the same layout to see the paths as the newer ones do. The newer ones took it from Virtue's Last Reward.
Right, because I remember
So
this.
they're
from-
both-
Yeah.
Yeah, so they're both sharing that same system. So the DS one, you're kind of... I could see that being a bit of a slug, and maybe it might feel like something similar to something like Nier.
Okay.
I'm not too sure on that, though. Like, I don't know how they do it
Oh.
exactly.
Root B.
It turned out all right.
Yeah, okay.
It was enough different.
Uh-huh. Anyway. Where does this go?
10. Look, Tokyo Jungle rules, but we talked a lot about some of the problems
first
with
minute?
Tokyo Jungle. There's that, right? And I think too, like, as we had ranked games after Tokyo Jungle, I think a lot of that week we played Tokyo Jungle, we were super stoked about it, and it was pretty high, all things considered, but we've continually added things above it because it, I think this makes sense at 10.
That works for me.
Is it a lock, Mark?
It does feel weird putting it above Metal Gear, but yeah, it works.
It's just other things that are above Metal Gear, though.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Well, there you have it.
I will say this: does 999's story end up being true in 15 years after the game came out? Because Metal Gear Solid 2, we're getting into scary similar
Oof.
territory.
I guess you'll have to find out. It's almost as creepy as what was that? Oh, I forget his name. The one author that they brought up, William Thomas something Stead, where he wrote about a character he basically predicted the events of the Titanic 20 years before.
Oh, the one they talked about in 999. Yeah,
Yeah,
but then
yeah.
that was also the next person said that was rewritten, so I didn't know what to believe.
That was
Well,
that was a great example of that kind of weird. Woo.
And I didn't know the fucking history of this dude, so I'm just going along with the game.
No, yeah, I looked it up. It was like, oh, all right, yeah, it's pretty accurate. But yeah, it can get a little scary.
Yeah.
Oh, Leo. That's the twist ending. Leonardo DiCaprio shows up at the end and says, "Hi, play the next game." Right?
Yeah, exactly. He's excited for you to join the journey.
Fights another bear.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's been 999, 9 hours, 9 persons, 9 doors. I also like the added bonus that 999 is the number you use to call emergency services in the UK. As a nice little... I don't know if that was intentional or not.
I just thought if you flipped it upside down, 666. That's
I think it works on that level too. Look, man, that's the thing about this. Numbers can all fit together and work really well.
Not hexadecimal
Numerology.
ones. They can go fuck themselves.
I'm gonna have to. All right, I got an idea for something to troll Matt with later on.
Great.
Put together something. Get you a Christmas gift, but lock it behind a key that can only be unlocked using the digital root of your birthday.
Great. Well, that's easy. Okay, I can do that. I thought you were going to do something with the hexadecimal, like an F. Got to make the letter F in numbers. The fuck?
F equals. Never mind.
6. There you go. Done. Speaking of dope things, next week we've got another TM game. This might be the original TM game. I know it was one of the strong contenders for me in terms of independent video games. That game, of course, Hotline Miami. Come back, join us for episode 476. Talk about it there, hear what we have to say, reminisce on its 10th anniversary as we rank it. Until then, thank you, Mark. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, listener, for listening. See you next week.